Hello, this is a tutorial to take you through the elency-config server's UI for creating configuration. So this assumes you already have a server set up connected to Mongo and it's the first time you've run the site. So the first time I hit the site, I'm taken to this create admin user page. So essentially you need some kind of user in the system, so the admin is a default user who has basic permissions to create users and roles. It cannot change passwords, but that's all it can do in the system. So you need to set a password initially, so you should make a note and store that password securely somewhere. So let's create a password for the admin user. So that user is created and I'll now log in with that user. So the first thing we're going to do is now create a... Sorry, I didn't want to do that at all. So now I'm logged in as an admin user, I'm going to create a real user in the system. So I've already added passwords that don't match. Right, okay. So we create a user with a password and we're going to give him 3 initial roles. So administrator allows the user to create users, roles, and also change passwords and change settings. Key writer allows you to create keys per environment, and team writer allows you to create teams. So we'll create the user and we'll log in as that new user. Okay, so we're now logged in as this user. And one thing I'll just briefly cover, LDAP is also supported, so by default you'll store users in Mongo, but if you use LDAP you can authenticate against an LDAP server. So basically we created our user now and I'm logged in as that user. So the first thing I'm going to do, as I'm a key writer, is create a key. So this is going to be the test environment key. I can generate random keys, but I'm going to use a fixed one so I know what it is. So I'll create a key in the system. And I'm also going to create a team. So essentially your company may have various teams working on different code bases. So each team may have its own app. So I'll create a team. So there's now a team created in the system. I'll add that as a favourite, but you'll see I can't do anything more with that team, basically because I don't have permissions. So I'm going to create a new role in the system. And for that role I'm going to add the awesome team and give myself write access. So if I create that role and go back to myself, I can add myself to the awesome role. So basically you'll see users can belong to roles and users can have team and app configuration permissions, but roles can also have team and app configuration permissions. So I've added myself to the awesome role, so let's update my user. Go to my team, you'll see I can now create an app. So let's create ourselves a new app. So you'll see there's JSON schema definition here, so you can optionally validate the configuration that can be created within your app using JSON schemas. These can be overridden on an environment level. But we'll define a schema and we'll create an app. So we'll add this as a favorite. So within an app, I can also add environments such as test, regression, shadow, production, whatever environments you may have. You may have different Amazon or Azure regions, zones. You may have different environments or configurations per environment type. For this tutorial, we'll just create a test environment, and we'll use a test environment key and leave the JSON schema as it is, and we'll create an app environment. So you now see that under my awesome app there is a test environment, but currently I can't do anything with this environment. So I'm going to go to my role and give myself permissions to that app, and I'm going to give myself full control. So not only can I read it, I can write and publish configurations. So let's update my role and go back to the app and the environment, and you'll see I have more. Basically, I can create configurations. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a basic configuration. Comments are optional. Because I've used a JSON schema, you'll see that 2 configuration items have been added. This is because in the schema they're defined as required properties. You'll see that one's an enum that's locked down to some values, and one's a Mongo URL which has a min length of 1 and must be secure. Secure true means when it's stored in a Mongo, it's encrypted. Or basically, when a client consumes a configuration, the value of this particular setting will be encrypted and they'll need to manually decrypt it. Right, so let's add something else. I don't know. Right, we'll leave it as that. Let's delete that. I'll go to create, and you'll see I get an error, and that's because there's validation on log level. In the JSON schema, you'll see that it must be of one of these enum values. So as the error describes, so I'm going to change this to info. Pretend this is a Mongo URL. I don't know, localize 27017 blah. So let's create a configuration. So you'll now see, so let's look at my test environment. You'll see that I have a number of configurations versions listed. So I have a 001 now with a configuration. This configuration is not yet published. So basically, if I went to the test environment, you can see this configuration retrieval button. So essentially, this simulates what a client consuming configuration would do. Clients can only pull down published configuration. So if I now try and retrieve a configuration or simulate it, I'm going to put a version number in. Here it describes how it works, but basically it returns published configurations where the version is less than or equal to the application version consuming the configuration, and it's the highest of all matches, and it's the most recent configuration. So if I search, you'll see I get nothing back. Now that's because this isn't published. So I can now go back into this configuration, and as I have publish permissions, I can publish it. I can delete a non-published configuration, and you'll see that I can export configurations too. I can export configuration values to import into other configurations. So this is basically the friendly view of a configuration. You'll see that because MongoDB URL is secure, it's listed as an encrypted value. I need to know the decryption key to see that. So I made a note of that before I created the test environment key. So basically, I can decrypt, assuming I know the right key. I can decrypt that and see what the value is, and basically export. Exports it in an elency-config format that can be imported into other configurations. Okay, so now if I go to configuration retrieval, what have I done wrong? Oh, I didn't publish it. Right, so now if I publish this configuration, see that it's published. I go back to the test environment, you'll see this is, yes, it has a published instance. If I try and retrieve this configuration, you'll see a configuration is retrieved. I can go to that. I'm now going to make some changes to this configuration. Let's create a version 1. Let's change the log level to error. Change this and add something else. Let's have, I don't know, some JSON, something else. Really I want to change the Mongo URL for the environment, so let's get that decryption key again and decrypt and change it to, I don't know, test. Right, so you'll see the version numbers changed. Let's create that configuration. So again, if we go to here, you'll see 2 versions listed. If I go to configuration retrieval again and put in version 2, you'll see that I'm returned version 001. That's because this one hasn't been published. So if I now go in here and publish this configuration, go back to the test environment, you'll see I have 2 published versions, and if I search, I get version 1 returned. If I search for 0.9.9, I get a lower version returned. So that's the basic concept around configuration creation. You also have ability in the system to compare on a version level or in an app environment level, so I can basically do a comparison against different configurations to see what's changed. So I mean, this would ask me if I want to decrypt because they contain encrypted values. I'm going to say yes for now. You don't have to, but it shows you the differences. So the version number changed, the differences between the lower version and the newer version. Okay, so that's the basic concepts around configuration. Other features available is a basic audit log. You'll see, you can basically see what's happened in the system and by what user, filter by user, filter by apps or actions like creating a key and various things like that. That's pretty much all I wanted to show you at a basic level of UI. The next tutorial will be on retrieving configuration using a client within your application.